Leilani, thank you for joining us today. You've often referred to yourself as a vegan, hippie chick in a race car. Can you tell us a bit about when you became a vegan and what really was that turning point for you?
Yeah, so I was vegetarian almost my whole life, and I've been vegan now for a little over 5 years. For myself personally, it's the animal cruelty and the environment are the reasons for me to be vegan. I'm not doing it for my health. I know a lot of people do it for their health, and that's great. I don't, as long as people are vegan, I don't mind why they're doing it. For me personally, that's my focus. So just as I learned more about the meat and dairy industry, I had already given up meat long ago. But then I started to learn about the cruelties that go on in the dairy industry, and I just didn't want to participate in that anymore. So it's been a little over 5 years. I celebrate my vegan birthday every year, and it means a lot to me because that birthday is sort of, it's a birthday that I chose. It's the day where I chose to live every single day with the ethical values that I believe in, and that's really important for my life. So, yeah.
The industry that you are in with your race car driving, it's been reported that you don't accept sponsorship from some companies that don't align with your ethics. Has that been a challenge for you early in your career? And maybe also tell us a bit about the companies that you do accept sponsorship from.
Yeah, it's been a challenge throughout my whole career, even now. So I don't work with any companies that produce any sort of fossil fuels, so no oil, no coal, no natural gas. I don't work with companies that produce any meat or dairy products or fur or leather, or do any testing on animals. So you can imagine the marketing people in racing are like, oh, you sort of eliminated, 99% of my client base. And I've even had sponsors that are outside of those realms where they qualified in every other sense, but, personally were asking me to sort of take a step back from my activism. So yeah, there's been quite a few instances where I've had to walk away from sponsorships that would have kept me in the race car full time. But, whenever I race, I'm really racing for causes that I believe in. So solar power, wind power. I've run a couple of documentaries on my car, both The Cove and Blackfish, which are about cetacean captivity. And then actually the next car that I'm going to race is going to be promoting a vegan diet. So we hope to be at Daytona in February. And I want to have a big tent that's giving away vegan food to the race fans, hundreds of thousands of race fans, and, show them that when I'm asking them to give up meat, I'm not asking them to eat salad for the rest of their lives. There's vegan cheeses, there's vegan meats. They can have all the flavor that they're used to having now. They're just going to be eating a version of that doesn't include animal cruelty and pollution. It's better for their bodies, it's better for the animals, and it's better for our planet.
What sort of response do you get from the fans at these sort of events? Are they quite sort of responsive to you?
There is some resistance, of course. I think whenever you're different, there's going to be a little bit of, I'm rocking the boat a little bit. But that's okay. And the vast majority of the reaction recently has been much more positive. Back in 2006, when I first became very vocal, I think climate change was much less accepted than it is now. So it was a little bit more resistance back then. But yeah, these fans, just because they like fast cars doesn't mean that they don't care about the planet and they don't care about animals. Those aren't mutually exclusive events. I'm proof of that. I love fast cars, and yet I still don't want to hurt animals, and I still want to, make the world a better place and make sure that we hold on to all of the amazing biodiversity that we have. So yeah, I think it's important to keep in mind that, everybody is at a different stage in their journey. And I feel it's really important to reach out to people who don't agree with me and who are not already vegan. So when I'm talking here at the Vegan Festival, I'm amongst a friendly audience, which feels good and is really nice. But I really do feel like I'm making the most difference at the racetrack where I'm reaching people who, maybe aren't familiar with veganism yet.
Have there been any big challenges that you've faced as a female, as an activist and as a race car driver that you've had to overcome?
Yeah, there's not very many women in racing, so there's definitely a large group of people, I think, that, they grew up in a time when women just weren't in race cars, and so there's a resistance to us even being out on the racetrack. And then, of course, on top of that, because I'm carrying all of these causes, I think I'm kind of looked at as like, oh, that's the girl in the garage that's going to make you drive an electric car and eat vegan food, like don't talk to her kind of thing. But that's okay. I've planted a lot of seeds, especially with Racing Extinction, the documentary I worked on. I get messages all the time through my social media from people that say, I saw the film and I've now become vegan, and or I'm making my next car electric, or I'm putting solar up on my roof. So I think the important thing to keep in mind is that you're just planting seeds, and you don't know how many are going to take, but it's important that you keep planting them.
So tell us a bit about your Tesla. What sort of speeds can you get up to in that car?
So electric cars have an advantage over gasoline cars in that you have 100% torque from zero. So unlike a gasoline car where I have to build up the RPM to get up to speed, you have instantaneous torque the second that I hit my accelerator. So actually the fastest Tesla road car that's on the street right now is the Tesla Model S, the P100D, and that is 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. So that is faster. It's the fastest production car on the market. There's only 2 other cars I think that are quicker than it, but one costs $800,000 and one's over $1 million. So the price that you're paying is just incredibly reduced, and the car also has the lowest center of gravity of any sedan. So that's also a fantastic thing for racing, because when the center of gravity is low, the car handles better through the corners. The car is very stable. So it's just a very, very fun car to drive. And for me, it was sort of the first car in the world that brought together my 2 worlds of, I like speed. I want my car to be fast and sexy and fun to drive. But of course, I don't want to burn fossil fuels. And here, now I have done 43,000 miles in my Tesla Model S. The last time I went to a gas station was September 2013. So the only time I stop at gas stations now is if I feel like flipping them off.
Do you think it is possible for your industry, the race car industry, to become electric?
Absolutely. In fact, I'm looking at moving into an electric racing series after my Daytona race with the vegan car. There is a new electric series starting up in Europe. It's called the Electric GT series, and they're using all Tesla Model S's, highly modified versions, of course. They've ripped a lot of weight out. They've changed the geometry a bit. So they've turned it into a race car, but it started as a stock rear-wheel drive Tesla Model S. So that would really be fantastic, because then, not only would my personal car be electrified, but also my car on the track. And I've also got solar panels on the roof of my house, so I'm actually literally driving on sunshine. I have free power landing on my roof every day from the sun, and that's what I'm driving on. So while you may spend a little bit more money up front for the electric car, I've saved thousands and thousands of dollars off of not paying for fuel and not paying for maintenance.
Well, Adelaide prides itself on being very environmentally sustainable. We've got wind farms and a lot of solar power as well here. What have been your impressions of Adelaide? This is your first visit.
This is my first visit. I've been so impressed. One of the things that has impressed me the most is how many vegan restaurants you have here. Where I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, there's not nearly as many options. So I've been eating a lot since I got here. But yes, I've heard a lot about your sustainability and how much renewable energy you guys are using. And that, those are the things that give me hope for the future, because it can seem very daunting when you look at all the environmental issues we're facing. But hearing about how much renewable energy you're using and seeing all the vegan restaurants, it gives me hope that humans are evolving into a better species, and we're going to take better care of our planet in the future.
And your impressions of the festival here, what have they been? And what's some of the food you've been tasting here, specifically, your favourite foods?
Okay, fantastic. I've tried so many of the different foods here. One of our favorites was actually the floating pie, which I understand is like yes, I understand that's like a thing here in Adelaide. So they have a vegan version of it where it's like a pastry pie that's sitting in a split pea soup, and it was absolutely fantastic. I tried Francesca's over there. They had an amazing potato salad. There's ice cream. I mean, really any kind of meal that you want to get, you can get a vegan version of. So that's the brilliance about asking people to give up meat and dairy these days. You're not asking them to really give up anything, because they can get vegan versions of everything, and the Vegan Festival here is proof of that. I'm really impressed by this festival. One of the things I love the most is that it's outside on a lawn. Some of the vegan festivals I've been to, they're just in parking lots, and this is just a much nicer feel. They've got great music, there's lots of dogs running around, there's lots of kids, it's very lively. It's just been a super fun crowd. I mean, I gave a speech here yesterday and ended up staying the whole day because we were having so much fun. That's not always the case when I go give speeches. I don't always hang out, but I did.
Well, Leilani, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here. I hope you enjoy the rest of the festival, and thank you very much for joining us.
Yes, thank you for having me.